Hi, my name is Bal Dhillon. This presentation reviews a case study titled The Need for Metrics. This case study discusses the importance of metrics which are necessary to make early on informed project decision making and how to identify and address problems. A company was facing challenges and was struggling. The selling price of stock was near a 5-year low. The company was just downgraded by a rating agency. Analysts were asking about what new projects that company was working on, and the company was forced to slash dividend payments to conserve cash. Innovation was a struggle for this company as it was not good at being a leader in the industry. However, it was known to be good at adding value to existing products as it was able to re-engineer, modify, enhance, and improve on quality. The CEO felt that he had identified the root cause of the innovation problems which had led to the failure of 7 projects out of 12. He stated the failures were limiting the company's growth. The CEO felt that the cause of the problems was due to the existing metrics only being focused on cost and time of the projects. He wanted metrics with more information so problems could be identified in the early stages to reduce loss. The CEO was wanting status reports to include metrics that would allow them to make informed decisions in the earlier life cycle phases of the projects. This would allow them to forecast the outcome of the project and make informed decisions early on. 13 questions will now be reviewed specific to this case study. Question number 1. Can the failure of R&D actually be this devastating to a company? Yes, failure of R&D can be devastating to a company, but it also depends on how the company responds to the failures. Failures can impact the reputation of a company and further, the overall success of a company. If the company is able to improve their planning processes and respond to challenges in a timely manner, then the impact of the failure will vary. Every project has a life cycle with an associated budget and schedule, and it's important for members in the project to fully appreciate the phases and their own specific responsibilities. In this scenario, the company didn't appreciate the failures of the projects until the end of the life cycle of the project. If they had learned earlier on, then the company could have been proactive to minimize the impact to their reputation. Number 2. When project work goes bad and failures occur, is it common practice for finger pointing and the laying of blame to occur, even at the executive levels? Projects can fail for various reasons. Due to human nature, there is a tendency to blame others. People get frustrated and they tend to blame. However, blaming isn't going to result in any good. Instead, members of the team should take responsibility and be accountable for their own actions and learn from their mistakes. A root cause analysis would be a good method to determine what went wrong so it's preventable in the future. The executives should be analyzing the failures so they can learn from them and prevent reoccurrences. Problem-solving meetings should not be finger-pointing meetings, but a time to objectively address issues that threaten the project. The meeting should be convened only if it is necessary, has a clear purpose, and has relevant parties in attendance. The team member calling the meeting should go ahead and make sure that the agenda of the meeting is clearly defined, ground rules are established, and that the meeting stays on topic. Question 3 and 4. What information is found in Exhibit 1 and what information is lacking? Exhibit 1 shows the 7 projects that failed out of 12, which life cycle phase they failed in, and the resources utilized for each of those projects. Project A failed in the 3rd life cycle, and Project E, F, and C in the 4th life cycle, and Project G, B, and D failed in the 5th life cycle phase. If the failures were detected in the earlier life cycle phases, then the company could have minimized the extent of the failures with respect to time and money. Project managers are responsible for the projects and should respond to issues in a timely manner. In question 4, we are asked what information is lacking in this exhibit. This exhibit only shows which project failed in which life cycle phase and the strength of the resources that were utilized for the project. The cost or the budget, the actual details of the number of resources, and the time spent on each project is not depicted in this exhibit. Having the cost, time, and amount of resources identified for each of the phases would be a valuable metric. Question 5. Is it possible that highly talented resources can overthink an R&D project to the point where they look for the most complicated solution rather than the simplest solution? Yes. When talented resources are utilized to solve problems, they can overthink and lose focus of the objective, which can lead to complicated solutions. This is where it's important for the project manager to ensure the project charter and objectives are regularly communicated to the members involved to keep them on track. Question 6. Is it good or bad to have 5 R&D projects out of 12 completed successfully? It's not good to have only 5 out of 12 R&D projects be successful. Projects cost money and require human resources and valuable time. Project failures also lead to negative morale at the company and are not good for the company's image or the reputation in the industry. Question 7. Can a PMO prevent failure? Yes, the PMO can prevent failure as long as they are doing their job effectively. The project management office is expected to keep track of the various projects the company is involved in and is expected to have positive effects on project performance. The PMO should be involved in development and maintenance of standards, methods, activities, administrative tasks, providing human resources assistance, and consulting and mentoring to the project. The PMO should be reviewing the metrics, communicating with the team, and being involved with resolving any perceived challenges or issues to minimize failures. Because the PMO is responsible to keep track of the progress of the projects being handled by the company based on the updates they receive from the project managers, they should be able to prevent failures or at least minimize them. Question 8. Is it inherently dangerous to encourage a project manager to recommend that his or her project be terminated during early life cycle phases? No, it's not dangerous when it's done right. As long as the appropriate information gathering, reviewing of the metrics, and forecasting of the project outcome is done using statistical data and evidence, then it would be appropriate to terminate a project, and the stakeholders should appreciate this. If they proceeded and the project failed, it would impact not only their reputation but also the company's. In reality, when a project is terminated in the early life cycle phase, this shows the project manager is being responsible to the stakeholders in the company and not wasting time and money for the company, further saving his reputation and the company's. Essentially, the project manager would be being proactive and further being responsible to the stakeholders. Question 9. Who, if anyone, should be blamed for the failure of the projects in this case study? One of the main reasons for the failures that was identified in this case study was the lack of metrics in the PMO. No one should be blamed, but instead the company should look at the failures as a learning opportunity, and then the PMO and CIO of the company should be met with to have learning conversations to determine the cause of the problems and how to better manage them in the future to prevent reoccurrences. Blaming isn't going to undo anything or bring any lost time, resources, or money back to the company. Question 10. Is Anne Hawthorne's description of engineers realistic? Yes and no. Anne Hawthorne's description is based on her perceptions and observations. It is not based on metrics. Projects have defined budgets and schedules, and those should be adhered to by the members of the team. If the engineers are going beyond the expectations, which is resulting in excess costs and changes to the scheduling, then they are not working as per the scope of the project. Question 11. Would you agree with Al Gray that the real cause of the failures appears to be lack of good metrics? If this is the cause, then how do you justify that other projects were successful? I would agree that a lack of good metrics could lead to project failures. If the metrics are not there, then the project manager and further the PMO can't analyze the actual state of the project. However, other factors also play a role. Having a realistic budget, matching the schedule, and the right skill sets on the project also play a key role. Appropriate risk management also needs to be identified at the onset of the project. This company had 7 projects failing towards the last 2 stages of the life cycle phase. The failures should have been identified sooner so that they could have been appropriately mitigated. Regular assessment throughout the project was required. The successful projects may have had regular communications and assessments as well as appropriate budget, schedule, and timeline with the right skill sets, which allowed them to be successful. Question 12. Should the PMO take the lead in the establishment of the metrics? The PMO is the backbone of a successful project and provides decision support information. The PMO ensures that decisions are taken by the right people based on the right information. The PMO ensures that transparent information is provided and facilitates sharing of information, as well as providing support, training, coaching, mentoring, and quality assurance. The PMO also provides a function for managing documentation and organizational knowledge. The project manager and the executives involved in the project need to provide the relevant information to come up with the right metrics specific to the project. Finally, question 13. Are a few days enough time for the follow-on meetings, and should the executives attend? Yes and no. The follow-up meeting can allow for ideas to be discussed. However, I think several brainstorming sessions, which would include mind mapping, would be beneficial. This would essentially require several meetings to discuss the required metrics and how they will be measured. I also agree the executives should attend, as they are meant to be the leaders for their own respective departments and would be able to bring the relevant information required at the meetings. These are the references for this presentation, and I thank you for listening.